Salutations, students in the art of learning. It is my pleasure to be the guest lecturer for this course and hope that I will be able to impart upon you a lesson that will remain with you for ages to come. My name is Thrandinium Tyrianius Mollerian III. Just a little bit about myself. I am a PhD in behavioral studies within the field of deontology, and I am looking to share some of my findings with you. Now, normal people see it as a bunch of below-average plebeians playing with dice, but in actuality it is a wondrous endeavor, allowing one to visit many different worlds and become completely different people. Now, you are familiar, I'm sure, with D&D's status as a game. However, this lesson will not be focused on actual gameplay, but on the relationships you have with your fellows joining you for adventure. You see, ever since the dawn of D&D, there has spawned a conflict that continues even today. The friction between Dungeon Master, the one who creates the previously mentioned worlds, and the players, those who act as the protagonists within these worlds. Now, when someone is put in a position that allows them to govern how a world works, there tends to be a clash of ideology and logic with those who reside within it. Have no fear, for I am here to teach you the proper way of getting out of unfair situations brought about by a rambunctious DM. I'm going to teach you how to discourse your deity. Step 1. Stop time. Or as normal players say, stop the game. You see, D&D players take immersion very seriously and tend to disapprove of any sort of fourth wall breaking or other shenanigans that may break the immersion. That is why it is important to signal to one's deity that they wish to bring a temporary halt to the campaign, so that one may safely have a discussion without affecting the fantasy world. The DM will then use their deific powers to stop time and allow time for talks. Step 2. Calm your mana flow. Source of all life and magic, it also has a direct connection to one's emotions, meaning that if your mana flow is imbalanced, negative emotions like irritation and anger are more likely to raise their ugly heads. Thus, it is important to calm yourself before trying to discuss anything with anyone. After all, a fiery temper has no place within proper discourse. In the course of my studies, I have developed several calming poses that ease the mana stabilization process. Two of the most popular being Downward Direwolf and Ruffled Phoenix. However, the most important thing to remember is to just breathe deeply. Take your time. Don't rush. The longer you breathe, the more effectively your mana flow stabilizes, and the less likely you are to say something you may regret. Step 2.5. Watch your tone. Now, you need to remember that you are not attacking your DM. There are good chances that they worked quite hard creating the world and details within it, so when you speak to them, no matter what, use a tone that evokes empathy and understanding. A tone that says, I understand that you worked hard for this. I do not wish to unravel your world, but aid you in improving it for everyone. Step 3. Focus in and seek allies. First, you want to name specifically the issue you are having with the DM's choices or style. Stating the main problem is a good way in avoiding unnecessary detours into other territories that are completely off topic. Then you do a quick check to see if you have support from your fellow players. This is important, as there is strength in numbers, and having aid will make your side all the more convincing. If your fellows don't agree, do not fret. This just means that you'll need to be a little bit more careful with your words. Once this is all settled, you can move straight on to Step 4. Conjuring up support for your cause. Usually, a DM will base their campaigns on other forms of videos or literary media where comparisons can be made. Thus, you could potentially use these as reference. There is also a good chance that the DM is committing these unfair choices upon you, whilst his own creations remain consequence-free. This will give you the moral high ground in such cases. If these aren't usable, then there is nothing wrong with using the emotional approach, as sometimes things just don't make sense. Step 5. Parlay. Now comes the bargaining. It is important to remember that you are trying to make things fair and enjoyable, not easy. Don't ask for too much. Always try to find a middle ground. Going for a compromise from the get-go will help speed up the discussion and aid in a smooth transition back into gameplay. Well, my young friends, you have made it through all the necessary steps for having an enjoyable Dungeons & Dragons session. Now, rather than flying tables and screams of anger, he will hear cries of victory as you and your companions let fly both spells and arrows alike as you strike down your next worthy foe. I do hope that you shall retain this lesson and prevent your D&D session from becoming a D&Don't session. Apologies, a little D&Dology humor for you. Please see description for all references and sources.